Thanks for coming back for more pie, everyone. So I've been hired to do many different positions on each of the student films that was produced at Evangel University, which I graduated from a few years ago. But for my final semester, I had to create a senior capstone before I graduated. So instead of working on the film myself, I decided to produce a behind-the-scenes documentary on the film that was being produced that semester. It was called Veins of Gold. The film follows Josiah, and in the beginning, his grandfather passes away.
If you're watching this, it means I'm gone.
And he left him clues to find a treasure that he wasn't able to keep for himself.
The treasure was found, and I know where it's at.
And so he sets out with a distant relative to find the treasure without it falling into the wrong hands.
Be careful and watch your back. Desmond betrayed me.
I left because there was nothing to find.
The script was pretty challenging because the filmmakers had to film the actors in a boat, in a lake, and we all also had to pile into some tightly cramped caves with lots of gross bat poop on the ground. So if you guys are interested, then I invite you guys to keep watching, or if you want to check out the film itself first, you can check it out in the description below over on Vimeo.
Action. Veins of Gold is a journey. After people watch this film, they'll feel like they've sort of lived life with the characters in a way that they know them more than they would if we just stuck to one conflict throughout.
It's mainly a treasure hunting adventure film.
But there's like two feuding families whose, descendants are trying to knit it back together.
And his grandpa gives him a way to chase his dreams even after he's passed.
Well, planning for this film started last semester.
We actually had like a really weird idea planned. This guy who was on the loose, and he was basically robbing people of their organs. So this was, really weird.
So Robert and I met with Dr. Pace, our executive producer.
And he was like, all right, that's a little dark.
And we went through the basic structure, the basic idea of the film.
There's recently a guy who's being prosecuted by the government because he supposedly found some treasure on a scuba dive and he hid it.
So we made a lot of progress that first meeting, otherwise we would have had something way different than Veins of Gold.
And, over the summer we wrote the script, Robert, Matt Cedarblom, and me.
We were sitting there talking about names. We originally had Golden Veins is what we had come up with, like me and Noah. I was like, Golden Veins, and then he was like, Veins of Gold, and then we were like, Veins of Gold! Like, Veins of Gold, that's it! He got to the top 3, and then we had some opposition, because some people were like, well, people are gonna think it's about mining and stuff. It's all about getting the audience to show up, so you don't want to confuse them too much.
Veins of Gold. All right, the title of the film is Veins of Gold. And then right around the end of June, we finished the script and began casting in August. We had a lot of good actors come in and perform for us. Some of the other ones had a different kind of personality, a little more aggressive, say, for Josiah, a little more laid back for Sophie, but Jason and Ashlyn, they really had the personality naturally of the characters.
Hi.
Welcome.
I came in and I did the parts. They smiled and they were like, wow, you'd have a good voice actor. I'm like, oh, really? Cool.
It's a little bit chilly. You want to light a fire?
I go to auditions and I filled out the form and I tried to look my best, like a treasure hunter would. Like I remember one guy was here with a leather jacket and I'm like, oh, Indiana Jones, and I wore my button down, the sleeves rolled up like I normally do.
The crazy thing though is he was going to be out of town for callbacks, so we just said, well, we're going to have to forgo Jace because, he can't come to callbacks.
And so I was really worried about not getting the part, but luckily a few people from my work were like, no, we got you covered. You go do your auditions, and then I was like, yeah, all right. I was pretty worried the entire time, and it wasn't until this one line.
Why don't we watch it?
Okay. I said that line and I was like, okay, I can do Josiah. I would love it.
All in favor of Jace being Josiah? Say aye. Aye.
And then Ashlyn was spunky one, but yeah, she could follow instructions really well as far as okay, deliver that line with a little less emotion, a little more, and different stuff.
They either shine apart or they shine brighter together. And Jace and Ashlyn shine brighter together.
I got the email and I just kind of stared at it. And then I was like, Molly, my roommate, I got the part. She's like, what? I'm gonna be a star. And she's like, oh my gosh, my roommate's gonna be a star.
Scene 5, shot A, take 2.
On the second day of shooting, we were shooting a scene right after the funeral where he's in the garage and he just has this really emotional breakdown.
I like comedic roles better, so trying to be serious is very hard for me. I really had to get in touch with my inner crier.
When we cut, don't talk too loud, no jokes, just for the actor's sake.
And then I got in that car and we had to do it like 10 different times.
Cut. Excellent.
He did very well. Yeah, I was impressed with his performance on that day.
You know, I never really realized how much work went into making a film. You know, you see the finished product and you kind of think, well, that's not too time consuming. I could probably do that. But then when you actually have to work on the set and be on the crew, I realize that it's a lot more time consuming than you anticipate.
So the shot we just got was a dolly in of the radio, because what this is going to signify is the changing from afternoon until nighttime whenever he wakes up from his long nap. So far it's the hardest shot that we've done, and probably top 5 hardest shots that I've ever done. For one weekend we went out to Robert Kelly's cabin that his dad owns, like a hunting cabin about an hour and a half from here. That's in the middle of nowhere.
So it's out in Iconium, which is a town with about like 80 people. And we thought that we'd have Jace there around 1, but he was in cross country. So he forgot to mention that it was in Kansas City. So he got there at like 4.
So I was really late to the shoot itself when we got to the general store to do the whole FBI agent counter clerk scene. I remember hearing talks of like, oh, we might not be able to do these scenes tonight because we started like 4 hours late.
We can't. Our light's gone. Like sunset already happened. We shot, I think, 5 or 6 scenes that day. One was scene 17. That's the big conflict scene between Josiah and Sophie. Make sure that you have a bit of a pause between, because you're lying in this moment.
I found it in the base of a pine tree.
And then at that moment, Jace, you just stop for a second, like have a serious face on, and then classic.
Classic.
Just so that there's a moment of suspense there. Well, the cabin was really nice. Inside, it looks perfect. It's nice and rustic and everything. It's an old hunting cabin of our producer's dad, actually.
Jace and Ashlyn at the beginning, their emotions were more like subtle.
Then why did you stop the tape?
But then like as far as her having to be upset and mad at the same time, like she blew us away.
You're gonna go throw everything away after everything we've accomplished?
Yeah, the argument scene in the cabin was the first time I really saw that much emotion come out of Ashlyn. We had never asked her to do that before.
Listen, are you enjoying being a jerk, Ashlyn?
He's being the jerk!
That's it. Keep that.
And she did very well.
I'm not really angry, like, as a person, so being angry on film is kind of exciting.
Well, what is the deal?
So what we're trying to do is overemphasize the light that's putting out by the lamp. So whenever we're showing a shot of them, we want a nice hair light. We want to fake like that lamp is producing it. That way it gives them a nice trim that helps them stand out from the oranges in the background.
Man, we've been up all night. The sun's up already. Check this out. It's really close, too.
The most difficult scene for me was literally the two of them in the middle of the woods with nothing to light them but a flashlight. So you can see how low light would be a very big problem. And what we had them do is point the flashlight straight down where it bounced the light back, so it gave this nice scary look to their faces. And then we had them running off to their car. We had the lights from the house shining onto them, so then our problems were mostly solved.
We went way into the night, and we didn't get to bed until like 4.
It was already really late, and I knew that I had to jump in a pond that night. Like, that was fully apparent to me. And I heard Robert say, I'm really worried about Jace. He's gonna get hypothermia, he's gonna die in that pond.
And I was looking at my phone the night before, and it was saying it was gonna be 40s, 50s all day.
I was like, I'll do it, I promise, because I was trying to like redeem myself for being so late.
He was willing to do it, but we postponed that for the next day. The next day it was sunny and 65, so.
I mean, I was still outside till 4:30 in the morning. I was so tired, trying to keep that in gear.
I was tired. Everyone was tired.
We got out there to do the pond scene. It was like 72 degrees.
Thank the Lord for that, because that would have been really cold.
The lake wasn't much of a lake. It was more of a pond. Not quite the scale we were looking for, but it still worked.
But it's supposed to be a night scene, so that's going to be interesting to actually watch.
So the way we did that was we just made it super dark and then turned it to super dark blue. That way the canoeing scene of the film looks like it was shot at night.
Robert, there's no oar.
Those are actually
Holly, you're a genius.
Hey, those are actually working.
It was very frustrating to be on that boat because there were no oars and they decided to use sticks.
The oars were in the shed right by the cabin. It was unlocked, and I didn't realize we had oars, so I thought we had a boat with no oars. So I found big sticks in the woods and had them paddle with the sticks.
So trying to maneuver a boat by myself with sticks and keep it in one place is very hard and very frustrating, especially when you have people on the shore joking about it.
Yeah, the sticks, I mean, they worked as far as practical-wise. They were able to move the boat once it was the two of them. So we'll see how it looks in the movie, and they might be like, why the heck they have sticks?
No, this is pretty shallow. Okay, so you can just kind of walk in a bit and then to the right.
Can you show me, do an example?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, if this is a bad time, I can always just swim back.
Cut.
If that was a bad time, I could always swim back. You said it outside the boat.
Yeah, no.
Him getting in was hilarious.
Yes.
It was really cold while I was in the water, but it's better now that I'm out of it.
In fact, we didn't even have him take most of his clothes off. It's just the outer layers. And we had him swim in jeans, which is not fun.
After that, I'm supposed to hop in the boat, and I had the most awkward get in the boat ever. I like stuck one leg up, and my butt's facing the camera.
So that scene probably is on the top of my list on what I would like to redo. We only really were able to get wide shots and medium shots because they're on the other side of the lake. We zoomed in as much as possible, but the problems that we were having was we couldn't control where the canoe was going.
Okay, but I think we lost this shot now. Okay.
Yeah, they're too far now.
We had a lot of time constraints on those couple days, so we just had to scratch it and just keep moving on. But
the pond scene, there was not much to be done. We just had to stand as close as we could to the water and hold the boom pointing towards them and hopefully pick up some of what their dialogue is so that later on, when we go to ADR, have them come into the studio and re-say the words.
Even without those couple shots, I still feel like we still made a pretty unique and really cool scene. So we're using a drone shot now. That way we can show a lot of the scale and the prettiness of it, but it's also a really nice transition as they come out of the lake onto the land and to the vast open space back to the cabin.
Yes, the pond scene was easily my favorite shot of the entire movie, just in terms of experience. Everyone's like, oh, Jace, you're a trooper, man.
Scene 23, shot A, take 1.
Okay, so there's 3 separate caves that we shot at for Veins of Gold. The big one that we used for a couple of the shots was Smalling.
That was very restricted. We only had an hour to shoot. Also, we couldn't do much there because a lot of the environment is protected for one reason or another.
And if you know anything about film, you know that an hour is not time at all, like, because you need setup time.
So let's move everything down there.
Time to get your shots ready and time to go through run-throughs of the actors.
You'll walk up from the side, kind of at a medium pace, not too slow because there's intensity here, but not too fast either because you're still unsure of the area.
We have this huge, awesome cave, but there's some railing and we can't go over the railing or on the sides of things because it's dangerous. There's slippery rocks down there. So we're not able to use that really pretty place, but we still have this really nice place right here where they're actually going to enter.
Doling Park was the second cave we used.
There's like openings to each of the caves that are open to the public at any time that the park is open. But there's a cave tour that goes back there that you can, it's self-guided. That entire side is unavailable for us right now.
We couldn't go back in the cave behind the gate, so Doling Park has this kind of opening that's about 20 feet wide.
So we have all this light flooding into the cave. So what we need to do is have all these black backdrops and all these foam boards blocking all the lights so that way it seems like he's in the midst of an actual cave.
Yeah, it really did look like you were in a dark cave, like you were down underground.
That's good, that's good. Don't get mauled by spiders.
Oh yeah.
I hate spiders.
In the cave, there's 2 tunnels, both dead ends. And so we would film me and Sophie. We'd walk into one tunnel, and then they would turn the camera and have us go out the other tunnel. And because you never saw daylight or anything, you would just assume that it was just one long tunnel.
It looks like the Joker did something here.
Actually, this is where they shot the majority of The Dark Knight.
There was not a whole bunch of water flow there whenever they scouted the scene. And then we came there and it had rained multiple days before, and so there was a big stream running through that was extremely loud. Luckily, we were as far away as possible in the cave. We had a bunch of sheets covering certain areas to block the light, which actually helped out somewhat in absorbing some of the water noise. But in the end, I'm gonna have to continue to edit it and see what I can do.
They said there's a little hiking trail and it goes in and it starts small and it opens up into a big room and then has 2 tunnels into even bigger rooms. She said there's no park ranger out there. Nobody ever goes out there. It's 5 miles away.
We talked with the person in charge, and she said that there was another cave in town that would probably work for us. When we location scout, we're not sure what to expect.
And like it's got graffiti and they found syringes, so it may be kind of dangerous.
There's no bats in here, right?
I'm trying not to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, she said if you go there during the day, you should be all right.
Yeah, so this is crazy.
And Ritter Cave was a perfect location for us to shoot in. It was just small enough, but also deep enough for the natural light not to be a factor when shooting.
All right, scene 19, shot AA, take 1.
So we ended up going there. So we had to take like not that much equipment so that we could carry it 1.5 miles up this trail. This is our mascot. His name's Felix.
When we ended up finally shooting at Ritter, it was kind of a breath of fresh air because there was no tricking it, there was no angling it a certain way to make it look like it was something that it wasn't. Jackpot. It was just straight up using the beauty and the awesomeness that was already intrinsically there and just kind of highlighting it and broadcasting it.
Money! Money!
It was fantastic. It was the best location that we had so far. But it was a very cramped situation. The cave wasn't, in many places, wasn't tall enough to stand in, so lugging equipment in there was a struggle. We don't have much, but we're making it work. So we've got several canvas bags to make it seem like there's more gold than there is. We have some gold scattered on the ground here. We have the chalice, which is the main treasure piece.
And last but not least is travel journal. It's the real treasure because it tells the real story.
And also, it's heavily populated by bats, so there was bat guano all over the ground.
So most people think it's dirt, but it's actually like the bat deposits everywhere. And it's got the consistency of lipstick, which is gross, so your feet stick and stuff, and people were picking up stuff off the ground. You get on your hands.
I thought it was going to smell terrible, it was going to be a miserable location, but I mean, it smelled fine. It was just kind of getting mind over matter on that, where not really paying attention that there's a bat sleeping about 2 inches above your head, or that there's spider webs all around you, and that there's bat poop on the floor, and then that you're in a confined space.
So I'm just gonna sit down and bat poop.
Once you got past that, it was a really cool place.
Action.
So what happened right now is the characters are going to be using practical lighting, so flashlights or lanterns. We also have a little bit of an ambient light coming from in there, like a torch or something on the wall. That way he's backlit, he's frontlit, and then we're also using a lot of silhouettes where he's pointing the light up in front of him. That way we can still see his shadow and his shape without losing detail. We have a really nice lens, thankfully. It has a very wide open aperture, which means that the wider open it is, the more light it allows in. Just so the little bit of light coming from the flashlight can light the entire scene.
I really hope people like it because that was the most painful scene for me because it was constantly either I was having to hunch over my back and having to stay perfectly still. I've always said that as long as it's not a permanent thing, I'm cool with going through just about anything to get a really cool shot because at the end of the day, the people won't realize and won't remember, and I won't even remember that my knees were hurting for a couple of days afterwards, or my back was hurting for a week afterwards.
There we go.
I'll just remember, hey, I have this really cool thing I can put in my portfolio, and this really amazing shot that I can show everybody.
Thank you guys. You are awesome to work with. I appreciate it. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
It's premiere night is so close. We can almost taste it. I'm excited for it, but also worried in a way. Because there's so much to do. There's so much left to do, which there always is with EU films. But
I've had a couple obstacles with this film, but I think that I've really grown as a filmmaker, and it's been awesome to watch it come together.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to see the final thing. It's gonna be weird because I've never actually seen myself in anything?
As music's added, as dialogue is leveled and sweetened, and as the color grade comes together, I'm really excited to see how the movie comes out.
Every day that we've been shooting this, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this scene. I can't wait to see this scene. And now that we're getting really close to the release date, to the premiere,
I'm very excited. I think the movie is going to look really, really good and hopefully sound really good. I feel like this is going to be a little bit different, and this should excite people to see something new and something exciting.
But I'm very excited for premiere. I think we have a great film going for us, and I believe this will reach people. This will inspire people to take their own adventure, to follow their own dreams, not knowing what lies ahead.
All right, okay, that's all I need.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Noah.